My name is Tana Kingi, and this is our safe space to talk true crime while I do my makeup at the same time, with new videos every Tuesday.
Warning, viewer discretion is advised.
Hey sis, welcome back to my channel. This is our safe space to talk true crime while I do my makeup at the same time. Before we get stuck into this week's video, please don't forget to help our channel grow by tapping the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and hit the bell icon to be notified when my videos are uploaded every Tuesday. You can find all the makeup products that I'll be using in today's video down in the description below. Okay, this week's case is so heartbreaking on so many levels because our victim today, Stephanie, had so much to look forward to. But I don't want us to remember this beautiful woman as just a victim, because she is so much more than that. Her infectious energy and creative spirit lit up every room that she walked into. Stephanie was about to marry the love of her life, but in a turn of tragic events, that monumental moment was stripped away from her in the most savage way possible. It would turn out that the day before she was about to walk down the aisle, so her wedding eve, Stephanie would become a missing person in one of Australia's most morbid true crime cases. This case was solved and shocking evidence was found on the killer's own camera. I'm trying to use up like this leftover brow product that I've got, but it's so dried up and crusty. But I'm like, they're like tight ass at me. It's like, use it all. You've got to use it all. Also, elephant in the room, background change. It's like the same stuff, but different. I was needing some, like, you know when you just feel stale, like the room just felt so stale, my background. I'm going to change it up properly next year, but I've got to order everything, so stay tuned for that. Now, let me just pre-warn you, these details in this case is sickening and quite confronting. I believe Stephanie's story, though, it needs to be heard all over the world. So not only can we remember her, but also it's a reminder that danger, it can show up in the most innocent and unexpected places. Stephanie Claire Scott was born on October 14th, 1988 in Sydney, Australia. She was raised in a loving home by parents Robert and Marilyn Scott. Growing up in their house, it was bustling, as Stephanie had two sisters and two brothers. The Scott family then moved to a small town named Canawindra, which was in New South Wales, where her father was the school deputy principal. While in Canawindra, Stephanie grew up with a boy named Aaron Leeson Woolley, and they had become really close friends, and their relationship would soon blossom. Now, Stephanie, she truly admired her father's career choice, so much so that she ended up following his footsteps, becoming an educator herself. She studied for a few years and then moved to a small town called Leeton for placement. Leeton is often referred to as a beautiful place to raise a family. The people in this town were known to be super friendly. The sense of community was heartwarming, to say the least. And the crime rate, well, it was virtually non-existent. The town's residents were like, crime who, you know? That is until Stephanie's case happened. Stephanie and her childhood friend Aaron realized that their relationship was more than just friends. The 294-kilometer distance apart was a real eye-opener for them. So Aaron moved to Leeton to be with Stephanie, and they made their relationship official. On April 11th, 2014, the excited couple announced their engagement, and they set their wedding date for April 11th, 2015. So it was the Easter long weekend 2015 when this case took place. Yeah, you heard that right, sis. Sadly, just a few days before her wedding, the day she had been planning and dreaming of that she would never get to see. Stephanie was now 26 years old and known in the town as a bright, enthusiastic, happy, hardworking, and much loved English and drama teacher. Students loved being in her classes, and Stephanie got along really well with all of the teachers. Some of the students in the school later saying that Miss Scott was so easy to talk to, and they just felt like she understood them when no one else did. Now, of course, in tradition, a wedding is closely followed by a honeymoon, right? Stephanie, being the organized girly that she was, had it all planned out. She had requested some time off because her and Aaron were going to Tahiti after the wedding. The school was more than happy to give her the time off. However, the relief teacher taking over her duties needed the lessons to teach. Stephanie was going to prepare the materials and the curriculum, so the relief teacher and students were all sorted. Not a problem, right? Like I mentioned earlier, Stephanie was a super hard worker, and so this was just gonna be a piece of cake. During the chaos of all the wedding planning and having to create her students' learning plan, Stephanie and Aaron were invited to go spend Easter with their loved ones in Canawindra. Stephanie was really close with both her and Aaron's family, and she really wanted to go. However, she just knew that she still had a lot of loose ends to tie up in Leeton. Now, with only a few days left until the wedding, every minute mattered. Stephanie stayed behind but told Aaron that he should go on their behalf. On Friday, April 3rd, 2015 at 12:30 p.m., Aaron kissed Stephanie goodbye and told her that he loved her before leaving their home in Leeton to head to Canawindra. It's really sad to think that this was the last time the two would ever see each other again. Like, I'm just so happy for them that at least this was a good goodbye, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't leave without saying goodbye or left angry at one another in an argument or anything. Okay, so Aaron goes to his mother's house where he stayed a couple of nights and was scheduled to return home to Leeton on Sunday, the 5th of April. The next day, on Saturday, the 4th of April, was like any other day. Stephanie visited the shops where she purchased a few last-minute wedding things. She spoke and texted with Aaron throughout the day, and they ended a phone conversation at around 10:30 p.m. later that night. They had organized to have a beautiful dinner out at one of their favorite restaurants when he got home. Now, on Sunday, the 5th of April, Aaron called Stephanie and let her know that he would be in later that afternoon. That was cool with Stephanie because she had a couple more things that she needed to work on for the relief teacher anyway. So she headed into Leeton High School. At 11 a.m., Stephanie dropped her red Mazda 3 off at the front of the school on Myrtle Street, where she emailed a bus transport company to confirm a bus for her guests for her wedding. After sending the email, she walked over to her work colleague's house who lived near the school to collect a set of school keys. Leeton was heavy on its security and had 2 metal gates that were locked with keys that only designated key holders had access to. I mean, the fact that they were heavy on security and this still happened just goes to show you always expect the unexpected. Now, the home that Stephanie was walking to was the home of one of those trusted key holders. She was going to borrow the keys to access the school for a couple of hours before heading home for dinner with Aaron. The co-worker walked with Stephanie to the first set of security gates. Here, Stephanie, she unlocked the gates, said goodbye to her co-worker, stepped inside, and then locked them behind her. I mean, it was just such a normal thing to do, but it sent chills down my spine because she was unknowingly trapping herself with a killer. As the sun set on that fateful Easter Sunday, Aaron Leeson Woolley's world was about to turn upside down. At around 7:20 p.m., Aaron returned home, but something was off. Stephanie's car wasn't in the driveway. He went inside and there was absolutely no sign of Stephanie inside the home either. That's when he called Stephanie, but his call went straight to voicemail. Aaron's concern grew with each passing hour. He tried again and sent multiple texts to Stephanie, but silence was the only reply. Sis, do you know that feeling you get in your gut when something isn't right? Well, that's the feeling that Aaron had. He knew he couldn't just sit around and wait, and so he jumped in his car and drove around Leeton, hoping to catch a glimpse of her or her car. But the streets were empty, and Stephanie was nowhere to be found. Aaron thought that maybe Stephanie might have gotten cold feet, seeing as the wedding was only days away. And he tried calling her friends and family to see if maybe she'd decided to stay with them. But none of Stephanie's friends or family members had spoken to her either. Aaron headed home, just waiting for his bride-to-be to return. Aaron later said that he didn't sleep a wink that night. He just grew more and more concerned for Stephanie. The next morning, he messaged and called Stephanie, but still no reply. Her family also had no luck reaching her, and by 4:30 p.m., Aaron and Stephanie's parents walked into Leeton police station and reported her missing. It wasn't long before the news of the town's beloved teacher had gone missing that everyone knew about it. I mean, that's small towns for you though, isn't it? Especially ones where things like this are not supposed to happen in. Many people even speculated that maybe Aaron had something to do with it. He might have been involved. But Aaron answered all questions fired at him from the media with honesty, patience, sincerity, even the hard-hitting questions that were implementing him of Stephanie's disappearance. His story never changed, and all he ever did was just beg for Stephanie to come home and to call him whenever she could. The Scott family began to worry that maybe Stephanie had gotten into a car accident, seeing as her car was never recovered. Well, not yet, anyway. The police tried to track her phone using Find My iPhone, but it was either off or just had run out of battery. They looked into Stephanie's bank accounts to see what her last transactions were, because if she was staying at a hotel or something, maybe there was a transaction on there from where she was. But nothing. The only thing that showed up was the shopping trip that she took 2 days earlier on Easter Saturday. They also tried her social media accounts, but they were also quiet. Nothing. It was like she just vanished. But we all know that's not how it works. There's always an explanation. And this one was horrifying. As word spread, Stephanie's family and friends sprang into action. They plastered social media with appeals for information. Stephanie's missing post was shared over 1,500 times in a matter of minutes. The Scott family, they were desperate for answers, and they organized search parties who searched nature trails and rivers, even hiring a helicopter to search the area from above. Their love for Stephanie was evident in every worried face. Late that afternoon, as the search intensified, a witness had come forward to say that they had seen someone else at the school the day that Stephanie went missing. Whoever it was drove a white ute, believing that Stephanie may be held captive in the school grounds. When Stephanie's family and close friends heard this, they attempted to break into Leeton High School. Police, they had to step in and stop them, but their actions showed just how far people were willing to go to find answers. A short time after the police received this statement, they noticed a Toyota Hilux ute driving suspiciously past the school. It was white. Remember, everyone is on edge now, so if you look sus, brother, you're getting pulled. The man driving was Vincent Stanford. When asked where he had come from and why he was driving past the school, he told the police that he had just dropped his mother at work and was heading home. Vincent Stanford was born on December 21st, 1990, in Tasmania. He was 24 at the time of the investigation and had lived at home with his mother, Annette, and older brother, Luke Stanford. Vincent moved to Leeton 13 months earlier and began a 5-week relief position cleaning at Leeton High School on March the 2nd, 2015. His contract was due to end on April 2nd, 2015, but it had been extended. Police interviewed Vincent at home to discuss his movements over the weekend and asked if he had seen Stephanie. He told police that he had worked over the Easter weekend cleaning the bins and stuff, but he denied knowing Stephanie or seeing her there. I mean, just placing someone at the same place as someone who's missing is not a crime in itself. So no arrest was made, but they were definitely going to look into his claim about working at the school and not seeing Stephanie. Something just didn't seem right. It's what Vincent said to police as they were leaving that really made them side-eye. Vincent called out to the officers and said with a smirk on his face, "Hey, good luck with the search." The police launched Strike Force Gundaberry to find Stephanie. Detective Sergeant Tim Clark led the investigation, determined to uncover the truth. The team's first stop? Leeton High School, where Stephanie was last seen. As they combed through Stephanie's classrooms, they found something interesting. The alarm system showed that she had been there on Easter Sunday, right? She disarmed the alarm at 1:31 p.m. and rearmed it just 7 minutes later at 1:38 p.m. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Police couldn't quite put their finger on it, but felt Vincent was hiding more than he was letting on. His behavior just seemed creepily off. So detectives paid another visit to Vincent's home, but Vincent wasn't there. His mother, Annette, answered the door, and Detective Whelan asked Annette to let her son know that he was to contact the police. At around 11 a.m., Vincent turned up at the police station. When asked about his story again, Vincent said that he had been cleaning at the school all weekend, but had not seen anyone else there except some roller skaters. These roller skaters were later identified and interviewed. He also said that he went shopping at the local supermarket in Leeton. So police, they contacted the manager of the supermarket that Vincent said he was shopping at in the hopes to clarify his story. But what the store manager said made alarm bells go off, because this store, well, just like many other shops in the small town, was closed Easter Sunday. Vincent was lying. What other lies was Vincent telling? Detectives decided to clarify with his cleaning employer about his rostered shift that day. And this is where it gets even stranger, because Vincent's employer says that Vincent should have never been at school. When asked why, the employer mentioned that all of their cleaners were meant to be on leave over Easter. No one was rostered on. Detectives literally blew Vincent's alibi story to pieces and confronted him about all of his lies. Officers called him to clarify his "I went to the supermarket" story, but Vincent didn't budge. He said he went to the supermarket on Easter Sunday and brought just some dinner, iced coffee, some groceries. He had no idea that detectives knew the store that he went to was closed. Let's be real. Either did Vincent, because if he did, he probably wouldn't have been so confident telling his story. Vincent Stanford had dug himself into a hole that was going to be extremely difficult to get out of, especially when the evidence started piling up. Detectives, you bet they turned up the heat. Detective Marl and Rolf went back to Vincent's home to speak with him. Again, he wasn't home, but his mother and brother were. Police asked to walk through the home in a quick search to just see if anything was out of place. Annette, thinking her son had nothing to hide, gave the police full permission. During the search, the detectives spotted things that were highly suspicious. There was a set of keys on a red and white lanyard that looked like the ones that Stephanie's work colleague had described. Coincidence? I don't think so. Police quickly declared the premises as a crime scene, and Annette and Luke were removed from the house and escorted to Leeton Police Station. A short time later, Vincent arrived home in his ute and told Detective Mullen that he had been out taking photographs. Strange behavior, right? I know if police were looking at me as a suspect, I would be laying low for sure. I'd be way too stressed to just be out taking photos. Or maybe he just doesn't think they're onto him. Outside, the cops noticed fresh tire tracks leading from the front of Vincent's house into the backyard. The detectives noticed right away that Vincent's ute had a larger wheel impression than the ones that they were looking at. And right where those tracks ended, a used condom. Yeah, you heard that right. It keeps getting worse, sis. They also find yellow tape nearby, and in Vincent's bedroom, they found more condoms, but also an empty condom packet believed to have belonged to the used one found outside near the tire tracks. When they checked out Vincent's ute, they found large MDF boards in the back. And guys, those boards were smeared with what looked like blood. But it was an item that just looked so normal sitting inside the car that would give the biggest shock. A digital camera. They acted quickly and seized the ute. Detectives removed the digital camera from the ute and they turned it on. What they found on this camera was some seriously disturbing images, including one of a burnt human corpse. The corpse appeared to be female, somewhere in bushland. I can't even imagine what police were thinking at this point. Vincent was taken into the police station for more questioning. Man, I went to the beach yesterday and you can see I got a tan, girl. I got a tan. I wouldn't even have to like contour because my foundation's a little bit lighter. So like my tan lines giving contour, haven't contoured. The detectives spoke with Vincent at the station. While he was not arrested, the conversation was still recorded. Vincent denied he had any contact with Stephanie or her car. But while they were talking to Vincent, they noticed something unusual, something they had missed earlier. Vincent had what appeared to be several small, fresh-looking scratch marks on his forehead, under both eyes, on the bridge of his nose, upper right forearm, and small marks on his left arm. Vincent told police several different scenarios, different ways that these scratches occurred. One was like bumping his head. One was running into a tree. Come on. Further analysis of the camera revealed another photo of the charred body, but from a different angle. Sick, right? When asked about this photo, his answer couldn't get any more creepier. He told police that he downloaded the photos from a horror movie on the internet because he thought they were funny, denying the photos were ever of Stephanie. The detectives weren't buying any of it. Vincent was arrested for the murder of Stephanie Scott. He was given the opportunity to speak with a solicitor and declined to be interviewed, but he consented to forensic procedures, including an examination on his injuries by a doctor, photographs, and measurements of those injuries, the collection of fingernail scrapings, and a buccal swab for DNA. He requested bail, but are you kidding me? Of course he was refused. The stains on the MDF boards returned a positive result for human blood, which revealed the worst case scenario. The blood matched Stephanie's DNA. While searching the ute, a condom in its wrapper and a mobile phone were hidden under the passenger seat. But Vincent refused to provide the password to unlock it. The police sent this away to be cracked to figure out what he was hiding. One of the hardest part of any police officer's job would have to be to break the bad news to family, don't you think? So at 5:30 a.m. on the 9th of April 2015, detectives told Stephanie's family that Vincent had been arrested and charged. Now, at this time, the family were aware of the photos found on the camera, but the details about how the body was burnt, they were left out for the meantime. But a short time later, a national news segment revealed an arrest had been made after photos of a burnt body were found on a camera. The information leaked by an unknown source caused huge grief for the family. I mean, how sad is that? To find out that your loved one has been murdered and now via, media outlets, your loved one's body has been burnt. I mean, shame on whoever leaked that information. Later that morning at around 9:30 a.m., police received a call to say a car matching the description of Stephanie's car had been found near a farm. A forensic examination of the car revealed a concerning amount of human blood in the boot and on the rear bumper. Back at Vincent's house, they were finding more and more incriminating evidence. They found a car boot liner from a Mazda 3 sedan, which contained more blood, but strangely, they found blood on a petrol fuel can as well, which was in the backyard. Inside the house, detectives found a red bra, which was later identified as belonging to Stephanie, a large retractable knife, and a set of bloody handcuffs. It gets worse. A lubricant bottle found on a shelf in a cupboard also had blood on them. Anything that had any blood on it, they did DNA swabs and sent them to the lab. Well, all the results came back, and Stephanie's DNA was on all these items. A computer in Vincent's bedroom was seized and examined at the State Electronic Evidence Branch. What they downloaded from Vincent's computer was terrifying. It contained surveillance-type photos and videos of women and school children and a large cache of bestiality images. It looked as if he had actually been stalking 3 other females before Stephanie's murder, including a 12-year-old girl whom he had 1,805 images stored on his laptop. Further analysis of his laptop showed that from late Saturday, April 4th, until early hours Sunday, April 5th, Vincent was making some crazy-ass searches on his computer, like Widowmaker, widow knives, sharpest puncture knives, sharpest knife tips, sharpest knives you can buy, best piercing knives, and serial killer knives. There was also evidence that he had conducted further inquiries with a security company regarding leg cuffs. Oh, what a sick freak. Vincent bought a set of flexi cuffs and a dagger-style knife online, and this was confirmed when the package arrived while Vincent was locked up and his mother handed it into police. I mean, talk about evidence, right? There was more, sis. At 8 a.m. on April 10th, a witness walked into Leeton Police Station with some important information. He said that he had seen a suspicious white ute pull up near a place called Main Canal at about 3:50 p.m. on the 5th of April, the day that Stephanie went missing. He said a male person got out, walked to the canal's edge, and threw something into the water before running back to his vehicle and speeding away. Police sent divers into the main canal to retrieve whatever it was that Vincent was trying so hard to get rid of. After searching for a bit, they found the item. It was a laptop. When they got the laptop forensically tested, its contents were downloaded, and lo and behold, it was Stephanie Scott's work laptop. Now, the only thing left was to find Stephanie. But where was she? Later that day at around 5 p.m, police who were conducting a search in the Kokopara National Park discovered a body. The body was naked and the burns made it difficult to make out who it was. The DNA testing revealed this was Stephanie. What's super haunting about this case is how much fate wanted this case solved. Vincent couldn't get away from what he had done. Do you know why I say that? Because even a scout group who had spent the week trekking and camping in the Kokopara National Park had taken a photo at 5:34 p.m. on April the 8th, and in the background of this photograph was Vincent in his ute, driving away from the location that Stephanie's body was found. This photograph was taken before Vincent returned home from taking photographs, but little did Vincent know someone had actually been taking his photo too. On April 11th, the police were about to receive the biggest, most explosive piece of evidence from the most unexpected person. Vincent requested to speak with the officers in charge of the investigation. Detectives Clark and Muln drove to Wagga Wagga, where Vincent was being held, and recorded this interview.
What did you use? Match to light the fire, or did you use cigarette?
Put some petrol on a stick and I lit a match on that.
Yep.
And I chucked the stick on there.
Did you stay around long to watch your body burn, or?
No, I left straight away.
Yep.
Yeah, it was well light. Took a second. Petrol starts fast, so.
Yep. Why did you keep the bra? Like, you've disposed of everything else, why the bra?
I honestly don't know.
Don't know?
Maybe I wanted the souvenir.
Yep.
Yes, sis. I was shocked too. They got a full-blown confession. He didn't know at this point that they had already found Stephanie's body, so when he gave them the location, they knew that he was telling the truth this time, because where he said the body was is right where they found her. Police believe that based on the evidence collected, statements from witnesses, and confessions given by Vincent himself, once Stephanie stepped through those security gates, she headed to the English staff room where she worked for almost 3 hours trying to smash out this learning plan. Vincent had let himself into the school unaware that Stephanie was going to be there. When he saw her, he said that a feeling come over him, just that I had to kill her. I wasn't angry or anything. Vincent watched and waited for Stephanie to leave, and as she walked towards him heading for the gates, she said to Vincent, "I'm going home now. Have a happy Easter." As Stephanie reached into her handbag for the keys to unlock the first set of gates, Vincent attacked Stephanie from behind, putting his hand over her mouth so that she couldn't scream for help. He dragged her into the school's small dark room, once used for photography. Stephanie fought back hard. She scratched at Vincent's face and tried to scream for help, but there was no one around to hear her. Vincent overpowered her, and what happened next is the stuff of nightmares. He hit Stephanie in the face over and over, 30 to 40 times. Stephanie lost consciousness, but that wasn't enough for this monster. He then put on a condom, sexually assaulted her, and pulled the large retractable knife found in his bedroom from his pocket, and Vincent said he hit her in the cardioid artery. Now, you might think that after such a violent attack, a killer would be in a panic. But Vincent's actions in the hours after Stephanie's murder paint a chilling picture of a man who was far from finished. What he did next made even seasoned detectives skin crawl. After brutally killing Stephanie, Vincent just went home for lunch, like it was any other day. Can you believe that? He parked his car in front of his house, walked inside, and casually made himself a cheese sandwich. He even had a coffee. It's like he didn't have a care in the world, even though he'd just taken a young woman's life. But Vincent, he wasn't done. He went back to the school and started cleaning up. And this just wasn't a quick wipe down. He used a high pressure cleaner to get rid of the crime scene. The blood he couldn't remove from the MDF boards in the photography room were pulled up and put in the back of his ute, probably thinking that he was actually going to get away with this. But one thing's for sure, liars always get caught. It's just about the right timing. And his timing had come. Then came the truly horrifying part. Vincent put Stephanie's body in the trunk of her own car. He covered her with plastic and even tried to stop her bleeding by putting the yellow tape found at his property during the walkthrough on her neck. Guys, this was painter's tape. But here's the crazy part. Despite all of this planning and obsession, Vincent had no personal connection to Stephanie. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Can you imagine how random and senseless that makes this whole tragedy? Stephanie's life wasn't cut short because of who she was, but simply because she crossed paths with a seriously disturbed individual. A post-mortem was carried out on Stephanie's body. Stephanie's direct cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Vincent had been pretty forthcoming with a lot of information, but there was one piece of Pandora's box that he refused to unlock. He refused to give the PIN code to his mobile that they found under the seat in his car. But when they cracked it, they realized why. Inside the phone were more photos taken between 3:10 a.m. and 3:13 on April 6th, 2015. But the last three were taken of Stephanie's body before he had burnt her. She had no clothing on and a blue towel over her head somewhere in bushland. This means that he drove Stephanie's car to Kokopara National Park in the early hours of Monday morning so that he could do this in the still of the night without being detected. That's where he piled tree branches on top of her body and 20 liters of petrol, setting it alight and walking away like nothing happened. After burning Stephanie's body, Vincent drove back home. He changed his clothes and then he went around Leeton throwing away Stephanie's belongings. Just throwing them in different trash bins. He was trying to make sure that nothing could be traced back to him, but it did. Every little piece traced right back to Vincent Stanford. Vincent pleaded guilty to aggravated sexual assault and murder. It was like that he just knew there was no point in denying it anymore. The evidence against him was just too strong. On October 13th, 2016, in the Supreme Court of New South Wales, Vincent was sentenced by Justice Robert Holm. He didn't beat around the bush when it came to sentencing. He said Vincent's actions were so bad, so extreme, that the only way to protect the community and punish him was to lock him up for life. Amen, Justice Holm. He sentenced Vincent to 15 years in prison for aggravated sexual assault, but did not impose a parole period as there was no utility due to the life sentence for murder. There was one thing that Stephanie's family wished to know. Where was Stephanie's rings? This is where the story takes another turn that no one seen coming. If one Vincent wasn't enough, right? There were actually two Vincents. Well, not really, but Vincent had an identical twin brother by the name of Marcus who lived in Adelaide. Authorities believe that Vincent removed Stephanie's rings, placed them in an envelope and into the mail and sent them over to Marcus in Adelaide, along with Stephanie's ID, where he pawned the jewellery off for nothing more than $705. Marcus was jailed for 15 months for accessory to Stephanie's murder. Man, I just pray that they got those rings back. As we wrap up this heartbreaking story, let's take a moment to remember Stephanie Scott. She wasn't just another victim, she was a bright, loving teacher who touched so many lives. Stephanie's legacy lives on in the students she inspired and the love she shared with her family and friends. Let's honor Stephanie's memory by cherishing our loved ones and working to make our communities safer. Her story reminds us just how precious life can be and how quickly it can be taken away. Stephanie Scott may be gone, but she'll never be forgotten. Man, that is just, it's so sad that there was no need, not that there's ever a need to kill someone, but like that was just so random and makes me so angry. What do you think of the look? I love it. It's giving like, what's that new song that's out? It's giving Megan Thee Stallion. Christmas is so close. And I've got like my daughter's birthday, my partner's birthday. It's all happening here. Wild. Anyway, I love you. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. And if you don't already, hit the subscribe button so we can hang out again. Please don't forget to hit that like button too, because it does help my channel heaps. If you'd like to follow me at my socials, you can do so at any of these links. Thank you all for your continued support. Have a safe and happy week. And remember, you take care out on those streets, girl.